Hey, Justin here from Conversion Fanatics, and I wanted to take a few minutes to go through something that we get requests for a lot, and that is conversion rate optimization, or a CRO audit. So for the sake of privacy, I have pulled up an analytics dashboard of a company. As well, pulled up just a random website, one that we had received here in the last couple months. Obviously, I don't want to share somebody's private data, but I want to give you an understanding of kind of what we look for from an overall perspective, and still be able to showcase some of that goes into, kind of a 15 or 20 minute exercise that will reveal some of the shortcomings or some of the areas where you're doing well, but basically to pick out some areas where you need to focus on to find those quick wins for your own website. So pulled up this analytics profile, and then we'll go through this, and then I'll pull up that random website that I pulled up as well. So when I first look at a website, I really just want to get an overall trend in the data. I don't want to dive deep, because you can go down all sorts of rabbit holes of data. You can segment by traffic source, you can segment by device, you can segment down to the keyword, time of day, promotions, all of those things, and you can get in the weeds really, really quick. So what I want to do is really just, again, find the trends in the data and understand what this data is telling me from a big picture perspective. So I often come at this very unbiased, meaning that I don't look at it and make a plan before I'm actually sharing it. And want to make sure that, I'm getting that fresh perspective as much as possible. So I don't prepare for these audits typically. And for that, we usually uncover some of the overall gold. So I usually log in to analytics. I also back it off usually about 2 to 3 months. So today is the 21st of September and recording this video, but I've been doing these audits for years and they're very timeless. So I'm going to go ahead and back this off to June through yesterday, which was September 20th. So get a bigger overall picture of what this data is telling us. So this is Google. So they don't know everything there is to know about the demographics. So we kind of have to take this demographics information with a grain of salt. So here I'm looking at it from this date range. We had almost an even 50-50 split. So we know that it's slightly favoring male, somewhat favoring female. We know that this audience is generally younger, with the outlier being the 25 to 34 demographic, and then it slowly tapers off from there. So I would say this audience is generally under the age of 44, and pretty even split between male and female. So we keep that in the back of our mind to kind of get a better understanding. Oftentimes what I will find is companies think they know who is actually shopping on their website, but when they break it down by the actual demographic, it's often they're surprised by what that data is actually telling them. So with that, we're going to dive into the age breakdown specifically. And the things we're going to look for here are bounce rate. We're going to look for overall users. We're going to look at pages per session, average session. We're going to look at revenue and e-commerce conversion rate. And we're going to look for outliers in here. So we know 26% of the audience is 25 to 34. The engagement on this site is great. We're looking for something sub 50% on the bounce rate. That just means they are looking and viewing additional pages on the site. In this case, 3.12 pages on average. What's a little bit concerning is with those 3 pages, they're only staying on the site for a minute and a half. And then with that, there is no major outlier in here other than maybe the downward trend of a 45 to 54 demographic. But given that this is a little bit of underperformance overall, because this product at this price point, 1.28% conversion rate to me is quite low. Obviously, we're not looking at a ton of transactions, at least in this view. Obviously, this company's going to get more For some reason, analytics always buckets their demographics, revenue, and sales data into a smaller bucket. For some reason, they don't show it all. From there, I'm going to look at a new versus returning breakdown. So we got a better sense. We know that we're overall underperforming. The engagement is they're clicking around on the site, but they're not actually staying on the site all that long, so they're jumping through really quick and not engaging. So new versus returning breakdown, we know 88% of the visitors are new, meaning that they've never necessarily seen the site before. Bounce rate here is low, is pretty low. Pages per session again is 2.9, only staying on the site for about a minute. 63% of the revenue come from new visitors, but only at a 0.89% conversion rate. So this is over 2%. So usually what we like to see, at least in a Shopify / e-commerce world, is we like to see an e-commerce conversion rate of about 2x, meaning if this is 2, this should be closer to 1, or this should be 1.05. So there is definitely some underperformance. What's even more concerning here is usually we'll see the bounce rate be quite a bit lower, the pages per session be quite a bit lower, and the time on page be quite a bit higher, and usually the revenue quite a bit higher from a returning visitor perspective, at least companies that are remotely close to scale. We're talking, 5 million plus in revenue. We like to see those numbers be a little bit more impactful from that standpoint. So we know that we have a new visitor perspective, at least an underperformance here. So we're going to come at it from a new visitor perspective. And if we do that, then we will ultimately improve the returning visitor nature. So moving on, we want to see kind of what this visitor what do we have from a mobile desktop? So we know it's a younger audience, so therefore it should be mobile heavy. And in this case it is. It's about average for most Shopify stores running Facebook and Instagram traffic is 83% or so of the visitors are on mobile. Again, looking at bounce rate, solid page engagement, but the time on page again is very light. And again, 0.98 compared to 2. So we got kind of that 2x ratio here, but given the volume here, 0.98 is super low because we are looking at, 164 divided by 1490. And that's $109 average order value, at least on the new visitor, our mobile perspective. So we know that $100 average order value, you're going to likely need to see a higher conversion rate than that, somewhere in the 1.5 on a new, and closer to 3 on a return, 1.5 on mobile, closer to 3 on a desktop. And then if you have an older audience, tablet will come into play. But here, we just want to see kind of, again, what is the trend in the data? We know so far that it's even split male-female, younger demographic, that they're primarily new visitors on an underperformance, and we know that it's a mobile situation. So again, just trying to get a better trend in what this data is telling us and where our shortcomings are at. From there, I want to move on to the site content, and I want to move on to landing pages. I want to see the first interaction of where this is at. So we know that homepage, we know that that's primary. Again, this is the main aspect here, and main outlier is 41% of the revenue come from there, majority of the transactions. They got a super low bounce rate here, and then we're going to go over to all pages. And then we know it's homepage, and this is in a specific product, and then the cart here, homepage, specific product, and cart, and this is all pages and interactions. So we kind of want to see where the visitors are going. But if you see here, the time on site is super low, even though the bounce rate is super low as well. So we definitely want to pay attention to that when it comes in. So now we're going to move on to my favorite portion, and that is shopping behavior. So this is my favorite report out of everything. So look at this from a standpoint that all sessions, homepage, collections, product page, cart, checkout. So if you look at it from those unique buckets, we see that those that come to the site viewing a product page or collections page, 46% of those people are bouncing without viewing a product or going to an actual product detail page. That is actually a pretty good number. That means we know, we saw 3+ pages per session. But the overall engagement isn't necessarily there if 91% of the people are dropping off, or over 91% of the people are dropping off after they view a product without adding the product to cart. And then from there, we don't necessarily have a cart abandonment issue, but we do have a checkout abandonment issue at this size and volume of this particular store. 65% is pretty high. If you're doing $100 million a year and you're running an omnichannel approach, 65% would not be an alarming number. But given that we have a 92% drop off, or pretty close, and then we have a 65% drop off right here, that means we have some underperformance, meaning there's not a question there's a question we probably aren't answering. There's some friction on that page, and I know the cliche of friction, but it's true. We just need to figure out what makes these visitors tick, and we need to put the emphasis on the actual product detail page here, but also what's leading up to the product detail page. Because if we answered some questions and created a better experience through the homepage and collections pages, we would get a better overall performance from this standpoint. So now that we know that, I'm going to go ahead and cut over to a website that I have pulled up. I pulled up this website, moves.co. They're a shoe company that has reached out before and is been a company that we've reviewed. So I wanted to just kind of take a second to go through their website from a USP perspective, at least from a customer journey perspective. So now that we know, and just note that the analytics does not match this exact website, because I wanted to keep everybody's information private, because we are privy to a lot of private information. And I take that confidentiality pretty serious. So I wanted to take a look at this just to give you a better glimpse of, say, hey, we take what we knew from a user experience perspective, or at least from an analytics perspective, and we're going to go ahead and just take a look at this from an iPhone X. I just want to look at it here. So we want to log into the website and we want to see what's going on. So I've already been on this website, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the cart, and I want to remove it. And then we'll go ahead and go back to the home page here. Okay. So as we know that it's a pretty even split. So a few things that jump out is really this audit comes down to a lot of common sense of what can be confusing to the visitors. Now, I review a ton of websites, and I see, lots and lots and lots of, split test data and all of those specific items. So I kind of know what moves the needle and what doesn't, but also at the same time, there are some commonalities in a lot of these websites that visitors just like a great experience from shopping. They want to know what the product is, what it's all about. They want to start shopping. And when I look at a homepage perspective, I want to know, how can I get a visitor engaged in that shopping experience? I use the analogy of like going to a mall. And, the old brick and mortar malls before, online was a thing, is you get them into the parking lot with your advertisements. Now you get them through the front door, and now you got to get them to the department or the store that you want them, that they're looking for. You got to figure out what they're looking for and get them there as quickly as possible. Now, this product only has a couple of SKUs or a handful of SKUs, so it's a very seamless or very linear focus. And that kind of leads me, the very, very small number of choices. So there isn't a whole lot to get them moving. So the first thing that I see when I come on the website is there is a ton of movement. I see movement on the bottom of the page. I see movement at the top of the page. You want to be as visitor controlled as you possibly can. So with that, there's even movement here, but this is visitor controlled. So one test idea, at least some shortcomings that I see, are stop the movement, focus on specifically what their main product is. And I would make this more of a static carousel as well. I like the two product kind of breakdown categories there as well. But then also this menu. This navigation is right in your face, and it's blocking a lot of the user experience. And this is more reserved for something that might be a chat function or something along those lines. So we want to focus on probably removing this element. We want to probably highlight the number one bestseller. In this case, I know it's the black one, but so I would emphasize it. And then we got some creative things going on here to shop now, and some additional resources, but I doubt people are actually getting down to here. Additionally, I would do a static URL that talks about exactly who you are, what you do, how you do it, and then focus specifically on bringing in some social proof. We have a ton of social proof down here. So we have Shark Tank, ABC, CNBC, USA Today. Are those things important? Do they actually hold weight? We need to test them and find out, but I would do a sleek version of that up here, or I would just do a product review. Instead of just as seen on Shark Tank, use Shark Tank 21 and going on the promotion. That's a different thing you can potentially use. From there, see there's a lot of loading issues when it particularly comes to the page. So I went ahead and clicked on the normal natural flow of where the visitors would ideally click, or essentially the number 2 page on that particular site. And then I want to look for friction again. First thing that jumps out is that menu is still there. And the second thing is free shipping in the US on orders over 125. So that to me is a friction point. You could use this headline to also state a product benefit. So, whatever multi-use, super comfortable indoor, outdoor slippers or whatever the unique identifier is of that product. And you can test those various elements when it comes to it. From there, I would probably test a default to a lifestyle shot. Even this video would be a great one, so you can kind of see the product in action and showcase it, because we have a very limited window of what it's going to take to really, get the person feeling and experiencing the product when we first go through it. So here, this is a big kind of friction point. As I mentioned, the free shipping in the US over 125, but then also at the same time, the product's $99.95. So this is a turnoff to me, meaning that, it's $99.95, I'm free shipping, which we know you're part female in this audience, about 50-50 split, which they are more sensitive to free shipping, where males necessarily aren't. At least in that age demographic, they're more interested in the benefits and the features of the product. Scrolling down the page, there's an additional friction here. We've got a men's and women's selection, we've got a color selection, then we got a size selection, which is taking up an ungodly amount of space. So what I would do is test this as a drop-down, or test this as something that is less invasive, even a side-to-side carousel or something like that. Quantity, they're likely only buying one, and it might not hold a bunch of weight, but I would move it down next to the add to cart button to save a lot of space. I would hide the buy it now button because it's confusing. And I would probably redesign the pricing section here that showcases the shop pay split payment option, because younger demographic typically respond well to the split payment option, which is getting more and more and more common. Then I would bring down the free shipping over 125. I like this machine washable side of things. I would probably do a carousel section here, but I would talk about your money back guarantee, your warranty. Are they in stock? Are they ready to ship? Is there something else that I can showcase on this particular element? With that, I would also move the price down into the button as an option too, just to really, again, save space. Get rid of the submenu And then from there, I would do a sticky call to action. I would hide the social proof elements because we know time and time again, or not social proof, but the social share icons, because we don't know. We know that the benefits far outweigh. This has just been proven time and time again. And then we need to bring the reviews. We have a bunch of great reviews on this product. Not a ton, but there's nothing showcasing any of the reviews. Get a testimonial in there. Order today, get it by, what have you. So it gives you a few ideas. Now, when I clicked add to cart, it just opened up this sub checkout menu instead of actually taking me and redirecting me to the actual cart or the side cart or the checkout. And that leaves a lot of additional space. So instead, I would rather be taken to this page specifically. That way we can really add some emphasis in here. So maybe we can add something like frequently asked questions. We can add some testimonials. We can reinforce the free shipping threshold if they've qualified for free shipping, or maybe add a second pair for 10%. This is an option to upgrade or upsell them. You can do a lifetime warranty. You can do all sorts of different offers in here. And then shipping, taxes, and discount codes calculated at checkout, I would hide that. Make the button very, very big. If you have additional payment options, I would split that too. We know they have Shop Pay. So highlight that again here, or whatever options you have at checkout, available at checkout, and then lead them down the path of least resistance of where you want them to go. And that is to checkout. And in this particular case, there isn't a whole lot we can do from a checkout perspective because it's Shopify and it's not Shopify Plus. So therefore we can't do much with the checkout. So we have to do as much as we can leading up to the checkout, like highlighting the logo, highlighting the money back guarantee, the customer support information. And then if you do have Shopify Plus or the ability to edit your checkout, then there are a bunch of other stuff similar to the cart. Highlight your social proof, highlight your FAQs, your money back guarantee, all of those to reinforce the benefits and the buying habits and the risk reversal that you can have for your clients. So as a whole, this is just moving from point A, to point B and figuring out all of the frictions or hangups that you could potentially test for the visitors. Now, I never recommend for you to just go through and make these changes. I recommend for you to actually test them and figure out what holds weight and use that to inform future tests. And that's precisely what we do at Conversion Fanatics. Day in and day out for all of our clients is we test a lot of assumptions and figuring out what the visitors actually care about the most, and in terms helping companies grow and scale. So hopefully you found this video of some value. You can take it, apply it to your own business to at least find yourself some quick wins and some optimization things by just putting yourself in the mind of the visitors and helping your, understand your user journey a lot better, a lot easier. If there's friction or confusion or questions that need to be asked, solving those issues is going to far outweigh any look and style or, brand guide or what have you, or fancy new theme that you might think that you need. So hopefully you found it of some value. Again, Justin Christensen from Conversion Fanatics. Take care, and we'll talk soon.